Hey everyone! Just by looking at this race bike in 2019, what would you change on it to make it faster? Some of you might think about carbon wheels right away, and I wouldn't argue with that. Actually, I have a set of rims ready to go. But what else would you change? And no, it won't be the SRAM Access drivetrain, even though that might be in our future at some point. But something that we saw last year more and more in the UCI races was definitely dropper posts. But since we're talking race bikes, I had to pick one of the lightest, if not the lightest, dropper post available to us today, and that is the Full Line R by 9point8. Manufacturers usually provide all the information about their droppers, usually online. 9point8 is no different, but when deciding what dropper would fit my frame, what I did, I went here on the droppers Fitment calculator. This is where they summarize it quite nicely. All you need to measure on your bike to decide on a dropper post is two dimensions, X and Y. X is the distance between the saddle rails all the way down to the seat tube collar. That is with the saddle at the climbing height. In my case, that X dimension is 160 millimeters. The Y dimension here is how far down the frame you can push your dropper. For me, it's 200 millimeters. And with that information, 9point8 provided a couple of suggestions as a great starting point. I ended up with this Full Line R 30.9 millimeter, 315 over length, 100 millimeter stroke dropper post. This is an inline head as specified here. As for the remote that I got, they are the trigger. This is the thumb and the digit. This is the one I got, the latest one. Thumb is the one that all weight measurements are made with. This is a Canadian company. Droppers are made in Canada, and I actually had this original Full Line dropper not too long ago, and I have a full review online if you want to check that out. Their zero waste packaging looks like a prism, and inside here are the goods. First of all, I ordered the digit remote with my dropper with a matchmaker adapter. Here's the torque key that they ship with every dropper. You have the lightweight cable and housing that comes with the Full Line R, and a few more leaflets here. First one is, this is talking about those saddle rail clamps, how to get service, how to install the digit. Full Line R is built using the same DropLoc technology that they use for Full Line. You can see the new logo over here, 9point8. And under their tagline, "Engineers lighter than carbon," they actually redesigned this dropper to shave weight pretty much everywhere. The lower tube, the upper tube, they redesigned this collar. The head, you see the inline here, it's slimmer now, even though they kept the fore aft and tilt adjustments as independent. They test this dropper to the same 100,000 cycles. Fatigue resistance is the same as the good old Full Line. And if you look here on the back, you're gonna see that they went away from the cuttable droppers only because I think they're happy enough with the weights that they've achieved. What kind of weights are we talking about? Looking at this 315 millimeter dropper is 343 grams. In comparison, here's a carbon seat post, 250 grams. So that's not bad at all. The standard cable and housing that comes with Full Line is 70 grams for 1.6 meters. However, Full Line R comes with this lightweight cable that's only 45 grams. If I add the dropper and the quick connect, the nut and the seal nut, that's 396, and the remote makes it up to 435 grams. I don't know what you guys think, but this is an amazing weight for an installed dropper. And talking about the installation, in the box you have instructions on how to install your remote. You have a couple of stickers, look at those, and installation instructions. However, if you prefer to follow a video, I have a comprehensive video on how to install the Full Line on my channel, and Full Line R is no different. But in a nutshell, first thing is installing the remote, and if you had any doubts, here's the digit remote next to the wolf tooth. It's pretty much the same with the exception of the lever. Run your housing through the frame. By the way, this is the light housing, Jaguar XEX SL. And if you want some suggestions on how to run that for an internally routed cable, I just put up a video for it. Install the quick connect and the T-nut, but not before removing the 2 set screws from the quick connect. They are not needed for the digit remote. Cut your housing to the proper length and finish it with the provided ferrule cap. And finally, run your inner cable and connect it to the digit remote. If you already have the remote, the quick connect allows you to use cables either terminated here or terminated at the remote. Race Face and Easton OEM their technology, the DropLoc technology, and over the years I've installed and used them both. So here's a few more things that are worth mentioning. By adjusting the pressure between 20 and 40 psi's, you can adjust how fast the seat is going to raise. However, this little chamber is susceptible to grease contamination from your shock pump. So make sure you have an absolutely clean shock pump before using it on these droppers, or use a floor pump since you only need 20 to 40 psi's in here. And one last thing about installation, the head uses titanium coated hardware and they don't recommend using grease or Loctite anywhere, including the saddle rails. However, you should torque all these bolts to the recommended spec, and they include the little torque key for that. Functionality, just like any dropper, fully depress the lever to extend the dropper at the fastest speed, or throttle the lever to adjust the speed or raise, or to stop the seat anywhere in between. The top collar is hand tight now. That should make for a lot faster servicing. Remember to use this P10L grease. It's a lot better than Slick Honey. The newest version of this is blue. Hope you like that color. Side-to-side saddle movement is kept to a minimum. That's because of the keys they use. They're 3-piece that adjust for wear as well. We've only been riding the bike for about a week now and not even on real trails, but the dropper definitely performs very well. Also, I can adjust the stroke if I want to. I can limit that with spacers inside the dropper. Still, one of my preferred features is the fact that you can lift the bike by the saddle without worrying about damaging the dropper in any way. If you lose the air in the air chamber, you can just position the dropper whatever you want and it's going to stay there. For me, local service, Canadian citizenship, a lot of good reasons why I considered the 9.8 full line R, not to mention the weight, which in my case was paramount for this young racer. What about you guys? Hardtail with the dropper post? Race bike with the dropper post? What are you running in 2019? Are you interested in one of these super light droppers that we have on the marketplace today? Replacing the fixed seat post with the dropper cost me 170 grams in this case. Would that be too much for you guys? Is that going to make this bike safer, more comfortable, or just faster overall? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you found this useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, follow me online, and until next time, I will see you folks on the trails. Cheers guys, cheers.